It's Human Action. I'm sure you've read it.
What's that?
Ludwig von Mises' Human Action.
Yeah, yes. I have read it actually, but I can't see the book from here.
First of all, thank you for addressing the decrepit state of our federal finances, in part. I understand your fight is difficult. I only have...
You think?
I'll only make 2 points that I ask you to address further. I just retired from the Navy after 20 years, and $692 billion we spend on defense, and after that many years in working with the federal government, you can rest assured there's fat to be cut.
Absolutely.
And well, sir, the problem is, when I look at your budget, I see you cutting the things that I agree with, entitlement programs, and I don't see you doing across-the-board cuts with the military. New Mexico Governor Johnson was on the news yesterday and talked about he'd make across-the-board cuts. I spoke last year with 2 years ago, the prospective representative, and she essentially told me after I pigeonholed her after the show, she's like, look, I'm going to be honest with you, nobody's going to touch the military. Nobody has the nerve.
We're cutting $178 billion in this budget.
We need more.
No, look, believe me, I know people would like to go a whole lot more. We're taking 178, which we agree is wasted. Were you finished?
I don't
want to cut you
off.
Go ahead.
Sir. When I was I joined the Navy in '89. When we talked about federal or military spending back then, we were amazed that it went from 100 billion to 200 billion. Now it's almost 700 billion. And the other point I'll just make real quick is the Federal Reserve. I am not a fan, and obviously I'm holding Human Action here in my hands, and I believe in sound money, and I do not believe in QE1, QE2, creating $600 billion out of thin air. That disturbs me greatly, and I ask that you join Ron Paul and the others in pushing forward. Hopefully you'll sign my book after this event today.
Okay, so first, DOD, defense. I agree. You can't throw $700 billion at any government agency and not expect a whole bunch of that money to get wasted. What bothers me the most about the Pentagon is they can't even pass an audit. So what we did was we, on a bipartisan basis, tasked the Secretary of Defense to go after waste. He identified $178 billion. So we're cutting that $178 billion. We do have troops in 3 fronts now, so we're dedicating $100 billion of that to the troops to give them what they need to do their jobs and stay safe. We're dedicating $78 billion of that to deficit reduction. Now, a lot of people say, cut it more, cut it more. Here's the issue. I would love to have a peace dividend and a budget for a peace dividend. The problem is we have men and women in Afghanistan, men and women in Iraq, and people flying over Libya right now.
Bring them home.
No, I mean, putting the issue aside of whether they should be there or not, we can't pull the rug out from under them. That's my point. So I understand the legitimate beef about spending and all of this, but yes, there's waste, but B, you've got to give your people what they need to do their jobs and stay safe. QE1, QE2. I agree with you on that. I've been a big critic of QE1, QE2. This is the Federal Reserve printing money and buying government debt with it. I mean, the Federal Reserve is the biggest purchaser of our debt right now. They're literally printing money with one hand and then buying debt with the other hand, and it's flirting with inflation. I very much am concerned that the Federal Reserve is missing the issue on inflation. I do agree with sound money. I very much believe in the whole notion and concept of sound money. I have legislation that works to achieve sound money by constricting the Federal Reserve's powers, by making them more transparent, and getting them focused on preserving the stability of our currency, not all this other stuff that they're doing. The most insidious thing a government can do to its people is to debase its currency. And I'm very, very worried that the Federal Reserve, with all of its stuff that it's doing just that. And trust me, if you live on dollars, which we all do, if you're on a fixed income, you've already retired, and your retirement is denominated in dollars, that's the person that gets hurt the worst if the government mismanages your currency, if the government debases the value and the buying power of your dollar. And so, to me, this is one of the biggest threats we have. Our fiscal policy is making it worse Our fiscal policy, meaning all the borrowing and the debt we have, is on a collision course with our monetary policy. And that is among the reasons why we've got to get this spending under control. We've got to get these deficits and debt under control because it's giving us really bad monetary policy. With respect to the Ron Paul, I really do think we should audit the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. What I don't want to do is have members of Congress politicizing the conduct of monetary policy. So auditing the monetary policy arm of the Fed, I have concerns about because, look, I remember Barney Frank when he was chairman of the Federal Reserve's Oversight Committee just a year ago saying what he would like to get the Fed to do. I don't think we should have that kind of political meddling with our monetary policy. What I would do is just restrict the Fed's conduct of monetary policy to focus on sound money and have a transparent process with an open book system so we see where their money's going. I can go on and on about the Federal Reserve. I do often.